This is Athletes as Educators with former pro basketball player, championship winning coach, and author Angela R. Lewis. Angie Lewis interviews current and former athletes who are passionate about sharing the lessons they've learned and the experiences that have shaped their lives. A resource for parents, a guide for student athletes, a source for current and former athletes, keys to transition off the court. Welcome to the Athletes as Educators podcast with Angela R. Lewis.
Welcome to this episode of Athletes as Educators. I'm your host, Angie Lewis. On the podcast today, we have Stacey Ward of the Young Boxing Women's Project from Perth, Australia. Stacey, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Angie. It's really nice to be here.
Now, we met in the Ernst & Young has this group sponsored, the Women Athlete Business Network. Will you talk a little bit about how you became a part of that group and your background?
Yeah, sure. So my co-founder and I, Lisa, so we were the catalyst for us starting the Young Boxing Women Project was a report that Ernst & Young was quite heavily involved in, and it was called the Filling the Pool Report. And this report, it was done over 2 years. The studies collated over a couple of years, and it stated that Western Australia had, which is the state Perth is in, our state had the highest gender pay gap in all of Australia at 27%. As I was saying to you before, Western Australia is a massive mining state, so that attracts quite a male-dominated type of industry. So there was a few things that, the obvious things about having boys' clubs and male-dominated industry that were responsible for such a massive pay gap. But it also highlighted, it gave some recommendations. So some of the recommendations around individuals were building confidence, supportive networks, and leadership skills. So that's sort of the foundation of our project. And because it was spearheaded by Ernst & Young, we sort of followed the evidence and kept looking. And Ernst & Young has been quite forward in publishing results around the link between sports and confidence and leadership. So that's how we came across the Facebook group.
Now, why did you select boxing? All of your sports, why boxing?
Well, our formula can work across any sport, but for me, boxing was something that I'm really passionate about, and I've always wanted to do it since I was a little girl, since my dad would play fight with me and my brothers, and I've just always been interested. But I wasn't very confident to join a technical boxing gym. I didn't think I'd be good enough. It's quite an intimidating environment to step into. There's lots of sweaty testosterone hanging around. And then when I finally did, it was incredible. But it wasn't easy. Some gyms are better at it than others. But for me, I found it really intimidating, and the guys didn't want to train with me, and I mostly just clung to the walls and tried to be invisible. And then after a while, they did want to train with me because being a woman, I'm smaller and faster and more agile, and they were like, hey, we can really learn something from this girl. So yeah, and then I realized that boxing is actually a really powerful tool to build confidence, and it's largely inaccessible to women, and I just thought, what? It's time to change that.
Absolutely. It's really awesome to hear. And, I was telling you earlier when I looked on your website, there are these little girls with their fists up and they're looking really tough. Can you talk a little bit about what the girls learn and how they become a part of the project?
Yeah, so we are mobile, so we work with various youth centres around Perth. We run the program over a school term, and the girls come down. It's completely free to them, and we do a 90-minute session. So 45 minutes we teach technical boxing. We're not teaching combat boxing, so we're not punching anyone in the head, but we are teaching a skill because confidence comes when you learn a skill. And then we sit down and we use evidence-based materials to host a little participant-led discussion. So it's not us standing back and teaching. We all sit on the floor together and we use some visual cues to talk about body image and confidence and consent and lots of issues that are really relevant to young women.
What's been most surprising for you with the young women in terms of the issues they've brought about?
The issues they bring up are not surprising because a lot of them are, I don't think there's not a woman in this world who hasn't faced them. And they're quite young, so sometimes they don't have a grasp of what the issue is that they're facing, but they know that it doesn't make them, it makes them feel uncomfortable. I think the most surprising part is how articulate some of them are at such a young age, because I certainly did not have that information available to me when I was their age. And the internet is providing that, and it's connecting them with other people. And so they come in and they're like, yeah, we know what sexism is and I'm a feminist. And I'm like, what? That's amazing. So they constantly surprise us in that regard.
That's really neat that they're able to have this interest and then be able to find out more about it and then define themselves as something that's so powerful.
Yeah.
I think that the generations coming up definitely have this bent towards social justice and fairness.
Yeah.
What are some ways in which the young women that you work with take a personal stand?
Oh, wow. So we work with a range of age groups, so obviously it's going to vary. The coolest thing is, and this is what we really want out of this, is connecting them to each other and connecting them to supportive networks. Okay. So watching them reach out to each other, and like two girls went to the same school but didn't know each other, and one was talking about how she was bullied and not really accepted, and she'd spend lunchtimes alone. And the other girl piped up and was like, I'll come and find you. We're going to hang out. And we were just like, that's exactly, voices together as a group are stronger than a singular voice. And it's really important when you're trying to build up other women that you do work together, because we spend a really long time being pitched against each other. So we want to break down those barriers and offer that supportive network for them to support each other. And we've got a couple that are quite interested in mentoring. So now that we've been in operation for a while, we've had some of the girls go through the program and they can come back as mentors. And we're working with them quite closely to develop their leadership skills and connect them to work experience opportunities and share our own professional networks. So, yeah.
Pretty phenomenal. Now, what are the different age groups that you work with, and how is the curriculum different based on the age groups?
Yeah, good question. So sometimes it's a bit difficult. Sometimes we'll get quite young, around 9 and 10, and then up to, late teens, early 20s. So we take from 6 to 24, but predominantly we're working with older teenagers and early 20s. So when we've got those groups, we can go into topics in a bit more detail. We try not to, we might bring something up about consent or in that sphere. So one of our taglines is claim your space. So claim your space is whatever it means to you. It's your body, it's your space, and you don't have to give that out without your consent. Yep. It's your voice. Your voice has a place at the table, so you can claim your space in conversation. So with the older girls, sometimes that does venture into some more sensitive topics, and where we've got plenty of material for that. And we also link them up to other supportive sites. So there's lots of programs out there. We don't necessarily reinvent the wheel every time. We leverage off existing materials. Another group the other week did Shark Week, and I don't know if you know, does that mean something to you as an American?
Like Shark
Week? Like period week. So the girls talked about their periods. Yeah.
They call it Shark Week. That's good. Blood, you see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And because we had a range of girls, it that's when you're young and you're 10 and you're entering puberty, it's terrifying.
It is.
So it was an opportunity for some of the older girls to share not just, like their experiences, but where to buy products and who to talk to and what you can expect. And some of the younger girls had these crazy ideas about it. And so it was, a safe place where they could ask those questions. And it was, really nice.
It's great when the older girls can know that their voices matter and that there are people who are younger who are looking up to them for that advice. That's really important. Now, how long does a young woman stay in the program?
So we have been running some programs in the same spot for the whole year. It's always based on funding, which is quite difficult as a not-for-profit. So they're welcome to come back and do the program as many times as they like. And when we've had a core group, we change the content and we're constantly including new things or, there's plenty to talk about. So the aim is to have a couple of long-standing programs in a few key areas around the city, and then we can do some mobile ones in the regional area. So we might go and do that for a term. So they'll get 10 or 11 weeks in the program. And if we can fund it to stay in the area, we will. If not, they've got other locations that they can come to.
How did you all get started with your nonprofit? And then what are some challenges that you faced? You mentioned funding, but are there additional challenges with being a nonprofit and running this type of programming?
Yeah, funding is massive. We are working on a model where we do adult programs where they pay to do the program. So if an adult pays, it's paying for a youth to do it for free. So that's in the works for next year. Funding is a constant struggle for us. Lisa and I, we're both adults. We both have bills. We're yet to pay ourselves any money yet, but that's so time for us because we know we're managing other jobs and our lives. Starting up a not-for-profit is really challenging. I'd worked in a not-for-profit previously, but not from the start. So I was definitely naive into thinking what would be involved. Understanding the law is really crucial from the get-go. And if you don't take time to do that, can present more challenges. And time, giving yourself enough time. I'm really I need everything to be done. I'm such a planning, active, go-getter kind of person. So I had some really crazy deadlines, so I'm sure that Lisa probably wasn't as happy about that. But, we pulled it together in a really quick space of time. But that's because we'd put in the time previously. We didn't just wake up with the idea. We'd been talking for a few years around all these different materials. We just didn't know what format it would take.
Yeah, so nonprofit it definitely has its challenges. What are some things that you all need and other people could help you with? Like if there are people who are listening who are thinking about it, what's some things that would help?
Oh, wow. People ask me all the time, how can I help? And I never know how to answer it because I'm just so caught up in, what we're doing. Donations would be amazing, but also connections. Connections are really valuable to us. Because you never know where help is going to come from, or connecting to people like yourself or the EY group on Facebook, you just get some really valuable resources. So I'm always happy to be introduced to someone who's, has something to contribute or some advice or some material, whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, speaking of advice, let's flip this. What's your advice for people who want to start youth programs? And there are tons of athletes out there who have the same passion that you have and want to share their gifts. What's 2 or 3 pieces of advice that you have for them?
Connect with other people, like-minded people who have done it before. Be willing to collaborate. I thought I was willing to collaborate when I started this, but I realized I was trying to hold too much ownership, and that made it difficult to connect with other people. And when I let go of that idea, it just made everything easier. So, really be willing to collaborate and hear things that you're not you don't want to hear.
Yeah. That is hard sometimes to hear those
Yeah.
things that you don't want to hear.
Yeah. Especially when you're super passionate and it's your project, it's your baby, and you don't really want to share it, but sharing it and being open is definitely going to open more doors for you. And the other thing is, if you're working with youth, speak to the youth, find out what they need. I think we often, I'm 30 and already the landscape has changed massively from when I was a teen, and their needs are completely different to what my needs were. So going in and assuming that their needs are the same as yours were you're not going to be able to connect with them.
What are some differences that you see? You're absolutely right. The technology and everything has things moving much faster.
Yeah, which is, I love technology and I think the information available is incredible. But the flip side is social media is so, I'm really glad I didn't grow up with it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Like as an adult, I'm more confident, and not that, lots of us aren't confident. It sort of applies to everyone, but when you're younger, if you're not posting the right photo, your body at the right angle and all this kind of other rubbish, like you're not posting. And if you're not posting, you're not connected. So how do you navigate that minefield? I think that's really significant for young people today, which we didn't have in cyberbullying. It's very real and it's very damaging.
It is. And you're always expected to respond.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely different. You mentioned body image, and we know that body image for a lot of women and especially young girls is difficult. How do you all help them through that?
We partner with another organisation called Blossom Guide. So our content really complements each other. She goes into it in much more depth because we're so heavily saturated with images all the time. So we like to use visual cues. So we'll get out a bunch of magazines. We did one with a group one time, which blew my mind. We got them to cut out images that they didn't like and talk about why they didn't like them. And then we asked them to build what kind of ad that they'd like to see in the magazine. And it was really cool.
That is
and cool. Yeah, and they were so articulate about it, like this one young woman there was this model with a gap in her teeth, and she's like, you know what, I can relate to that because I've got a gap in my teeth. And she'd collected these other images which just screamed femininity, and she wasn't quite sure why she didn't like them, but she's like, I don't have to like all those colours and be gentle and soft just because I'm a girl. And these images had nothing to do with body. But she was right. It totally, embodied this whole we're supposed to be gentle and soft thing. So we also talk about, we look at different pop stars or famous people who are heavily in the media, and we talk about the difference between owning their own personality and being objectified.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah, it's
good stuff.
It's a good one. Yeah. And it's really obvious. Like when you start to look at them, you can see, look at them side by side, and it is a challenging one because, if women want to be sexual and show off their bodies, that's completely within their rights. We talk about when they are doing that, or if they are doing that, whose terms is it on? Is it on your terms? Are you sharing what you want to share, or are you sharing because you've been pressured into sharing, or you think that's what you're supposed to do? So it comes back to really claiming your space and owning your space and doing it on your own terms.
That is such great content. That is so good and so important. Have you all connected with other groups that are doing similar work in other parts of the world? I know you're in Australia, but are there other girl groups similar?
We follow some. We haven't connected with them in any formal way yet, but that's definitely where we're headed.
That's really exciting. Can you do with what do you teach in regards to boxing? Is it a sequence? Is it a combination?
Lots. So we teach technical because technical, like we said before, is where when you're learning a skill, you grow confidence and it engages your brain. So we are, all about fitness and growing stronger and faster as well. So we teach footwork, we teach stance, we teach guarding, we teach how to throw punches properly. We do lots of movement stuff. So we play little games where it gets your body moving and twisting like you're a boxer, and we're just trying to make it as fun as possible, really.
Yes, it sounds amazing. It sounds like a lot of fun, and I would love to see it in action. Like, it sounds so cool.
Well, come to Perth.
It is. I will add it to my list of places.
Yeah.
It looks gorgeous, so I would absolutely love to come. I'll add that to the list. We'll talk about that offline.
Yeah.
No, I think it would be amazing, and I love what you're doing. What advice do you have for young women who are maybe just graduating from college or who are in their last year of university and who are like trying to find their way and want to make an impact?
So we work with a lot of older women who want to get involved in this, and we tell them to reach out to those younger people and be supportive. So for those graduating college, I would say find a mentor. It is so important. Find someone you can connect with and you can ask those questions, because there's no reason to do it all blindly. There's been plenty of people who've gone before us and they've learnt the hard way. And if we can learn from those learnings, it's going to make your life a world of difference. And making an impact can be in your own job and just being successful at whatever it is you're doing. If you want to get involved in social groups, go and find a social group that resonates with you and that you can really uphold their values. And I think if you can't uphold their values, it's really obvious, and it's not going to work for either party.
That is really, really great advice. So, Stacey, if there is a young woman that wants to connect with you and wants to learn more about Young Boxing Women's Project, how can she reach you? Or maybe there's a guy that wants to support us.
Yeah, we do have lots of men supporters. So you can find our website, all the W's, theyoungboxingwomanproject.com, or we're on Facebook as well, the Young Boxing Woman Project.
Perfect. Stacey, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved learning about everything and look forward to talking to you soon.
This is Athletes as Educators.
Thank you for listening to the Athletes as Educators podcast. Connect with me through the Athletes as Educators Facebook page or at Athletes Educate on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode, and go over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. For more resources and information about today's podcast, you can check us out at AngelaRLewis.com.